I thought throwing Daniel the perfect 5th anniversary party would prove I was the best wife in the world. I spent weeks planning every detail: the fairy lights strung across our living room, the gold balloons clustered in corners, the playlist I'd carefully curated with songs from our relationship. I wore the red dress Daniel had bought me for my birthday, the one he said made me look stunning. "Maya, this place looks incredible." Vanessa squealed as she walked in, Marcus trailing behind her with a bottle of expensive wine. "You really outdid yourself," Priya added, giving me a hug while Sanjay handed me a gift bag. I beamed, soaking in their compliments. I wanted it to be perfect. 5 years deserves something special, right? Daniel stood by the kitchen counter, opening beers for Leo and the other guys. He caught my eye and smiled that soft, private smile he reserved just for me. I blew him a kiss and turned back to my guests. The apartment filled quickly. Our closest friends, 8 people total, created the perfect intimate atmosphere. Wine flowed, music played, and laughter echoed off the walls. I felt like royalty in my own little kingdom. "Daniel, man, you're a lucky guy," Leo said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Not everyone gets a wife who throws parties like this." "I know," Daniel replied quietly. "I'm very lucky," but I barely heard him. I was too busy refilling glasses, adjusting the music volume, making sure everyone was having fun. I needed this party to be perfect. I needed everyone to see how happy we were, how strong our marriage was, how enviable our life looked. "More wine?" I asked Vanessa, already pouring before she answered. "Girl, yes, this party is amazing." I didn't notice Daniel retreating to the corner with his beer. I didn't see him checking his watch or the way his smile had started to fade. I was too busy being the center of attention. Looking back now, that's when I should have paid attention. That's when I should have seen the warning signs written across his face. 2 hours into the party, Vanessa suggested we play a game. "Come on, let's make this interesting," she announced, her voice loud with wine. "Let's go around and share embarrassing spouse secrets. Nothing too serious, just funny stuff." Everyone laughed and agreed. Marcus went first, sharing how Vanessa talked in her sleep about grocery lists. Priya admitted that Sanjay sang Bollywood songs in the shower off-key every morning. The room filled with good-natured teasing and laughter. Then Vanessa turned to me, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Okay, Maya, your turn. What's Daniel's most embarrassing secret?" I took a long sip of wine, feeling the warm buzz of alcohol and attention. Everyone's eyes were on me. The room went quiet, waiting. "Well," I started, giggling nervously. "Let's just say Daniel makes up for what he lacks in size with enthusiasm." The words left my mouth before I could stop them. The room exploded. Vanessa doubled over laughing, nearly spilling her drink. Marcus made a crude gesture with his hands that made several people gasp and laugh harder. "Oh my God, Maya," Vanessa shrieked. "I can't believe you just said that." I laughed along, caught up in the moment, in the shock value, in the attention. But then I looked at Daniel. His face had gone completely white. The beer bottle in his hand slipped slightly, beer sloshing against the sides. He stared at me with an expression I'd never seen before, pure, unfiltered horror. Priya covered her mouth, her eyes darting between us with concern. Leo stopped mid-sip, his face hardening as he glared at me with unmistakable disgust. The laughter continued around me, but I suddenly felt cold. "Come on, babe, it's just a joke," I called across the room, waving my wine glass, trying to salvage the moment. "Everyone knows size doesn't matter, right?" Silence. Daniel stood up slowly, carefully placing his beer bottle on the coffee table, with the same methodical precision he used for everything. The room gradually quieted, sensing the shift in energy. "Maya," he said, his voice so calm it sent chills down my spine. "Can I speak with you in the bedroom?" I rolled my eyes, still trying to play it off. Ooh, someone's sensitive. Nobody laughed. I followed Daniel down the hallway, my heart starting to race. Behind me, I caught Vanessa's expression. It wasn't amusement anymore. It was concern. The bedroom door closed with a soft click that somehow felt louder than a slam. Daniel stood by the window, his back to me, shoulders rigid. I expected him to yell, to explode, to give me something I could argue against. Instead, he was silent. That silence terrified me more than any shouting match we'd ever had. "Daniel, come on." I started, my voice taking on that placating tone. It was just a joke. Everyone was laughing. We were all having fun. He turned to face me, and I barely recognized him. His eyes, usually soft and forgiving, were cold and distant. Fun, he repeated, tasting the word. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. You shared the most intimate detail of our marriage, twisted it into a punchline, and you think that's fun. You're being too sensitive. I shot back, my defenses rising. Couples joke about this stuff all the time. Vanessa and Marcus do it. Priya and Sanjay do it. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Daniel's laugh was hollow. Because, Maya, you crossed a line tonight that can't be uncrossed. You made me feel small literally and figuratively, in front of the people whose respect I've spent years earning. Leo, he's been my best friend since we were 7 years old. Now he knows the most private details of my body because you needed to get a laugh. I opened my mouth to interrupt, but he held up his hand. No, I'm not done. For 5 years, I've supported you. I've listened to you complain about your boss, held you when your dad got sick, celebrated every promotion, every success. I've loved you unconditionally. And tonight, you proved that you see me as nothing more than material for your entertainment. His words hit me like physical blows, but my pride wouldn't let me back down. So what? You're going to pout all night and ruin the party I worked so hard to plan for you, S. I emphasized the word, trying to remind him this was for our anniversary, not just mine. Daniel shook his head slowly. There is no more us, Maya. Not after tonight. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? I'm leaving. You're leaving? You're seriously going to walk out over one stupid joke? It's not one joke, Maya. It's 5 years of jokes. 5 years of you treating me like I'm not enough. 5 years of me pretending it didn't hurt because I loved you. But tonight, you finally showed me what you really think of me. Daniel, wait. But he was already walking past me, out the bedroom door. When we returned to the living room, the party had died. People were checking their phones, gathering their things, avoiding eye contact. I tried to resurrect the celebration, but Daniel picked up his jacket from the coat rack. Wait, where are you going? I called after him, panic rising in my chest. Out, he replied without looking back. The door closed behind him, leaving me standing in a room full of pitying stares. Leo approached me, his expression a mixture of anger and disappointment. Maya, what were you thinking? He asked quietly, positioning himself between me and the door. That was his worst nightmare, and you made it public entertainment. My face burned. It was just a stupid joke, Leo. Why is everyone acting like I committed murder? Leo's jaw tightened. Because you killed his dignity. You killed his trust. Daniel is the most private person I know, and you exposed him in the worst possible way. He confided in you, trusted you with his insecurities, and you weaponized them for laughs. Vanessa tried to intervene, placing a hand on my shoulder. Maya, maybe Leo has a point. That joke was pretty harsh. I spun to face her, anger exploding in my chest. You started this game. You asked about our bedroom. Don't you dare turn this around on me now. The room went completely silent. Vanessa stepped back, hurt flashing across her face. Marcus put his arm around her protectively. We should go. Priya said softly, avoiding my eyes as she grabbed her purse. Thank you for having us, Maya. The pity in her voice made me want to scream. One by one, my guests filtered out, leaving half. Empty wine glasses and uneaten cake scattered across my carefully decorated apartment. Only Vanessa lingered by the door. For what it's worth. She said carefully, I think you should apologize to him. Really apologize. Not the kind where you explain why you did it, but the kind where you acknowledge the damage. Then she was gone too, and I was alone in the wreckage of my perfect party. Daniel didn't come home that night. Or the next. I called him 17 times. I counted each one as I watched my phone screen light up and go to voicemail. I texted apologies, explanations, justifications, nothing. I reached out to Leo. Is Daniel with you? Please tell him to come home. His response came an hour later. He's safe. He needs space. Leave him alone. Those 4 words felt like a door slamming in my face. I couldn't sleep in our bed. Every time I looked at it, I remembered Daniel's face, that expression of complete betrayal. Instead, I curled up on the couch where the party had been, surrounded by remnants of my failed celebration. A deflated balloon drifted across the floor, gold and mocking. I replayed the night over and over, trying to pinpoint the exact moment everything went wrong, trying to rewrite history in my mind where I made a different choice. But I couldn't escape the truth. I had made that choice. I had said those words. I had chosen the laugh over my husband's dignity. The worst part was realizing it wasn't the first time. As I sat alone in the dark, memories surfaced like unwelcome ghosts. The time I joked about Daniel's boring job at a dinner party. The time I'd mimicked his methodical morning routine to make my coworkers laugh. The countless small moments where I'd treated his quirks as material for my personal comedy show. I'd always told myself it was harmless, that couples teased each other, that he knew I loved him despite the jokes. But what if love wasn't supposed to feel like despite? What if love was supposed to feel like because? My phone buzzed. For a split second, hope surged through me. But it was just Vanessa. How are you holding up? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. I think I really messed up. Her response came quickly. Yeah, you did. What are you going to do about it? That was the question, wasn't it? What was I going to do about it? I pulled out my laptop and started typing an email to Daniel. I wrote and deleted a dozen versions. Each one felt hollow, performative, like I was crafting the perfect apology, the way I'd craft the perfect Instagram caption. Finally, I closed the laptop. Words wouldn't fix this. Nothing I could say would undo what I'd done. I needed to understand why I'd done it in the first place, why hurting Daniel had felt like an acceptable price for a few laughs. On the third day, I heard Daniel's key in the lock. I jumped up from the couch, where I'd been existing in a haze of regret and unwashed hair. But when he walked in, he wasn't alone. Behind him stood a woman I'd never seen before, professional, composed, carrying a leather folder. Maya, this is Jennifer Chen. She's a mediator, Daniel said, his voice formal and distant. My stomach dropped. A mediator? Daniel? What? I think we should separate, he said, cutting through my confusion with surgical precision. I've rented an apartment across town. I'll be moving my things out this weekend. Jennifer is here to help us discuss the logistics civilly. The word separate echoed in my head like a gunshot. Not take a break. Separate, the word that came before divorce. I understand this is difficult, Maya, Jennifer said with a professional smile. Why don't we all sit down and talk through this calmly? But there was nothing calm about the way my world was imploding. Daniel, please, I begged, ignoring Jennifer entirely. Can we talk alone, just the two of us? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about what I said. I was drunk and stupid, and I'll never do anything like that again. Daniel's expression didn't change. Maya, I've had 3 days to think clearly for the first time in years. This isn't just about the party. The party was just when I finally couldn't ignore it anymore. You've been tearing me down slowly for our entire marriage, and I've been making excuses for you because I loved you. But love shouldn't feel like I'm constantly defending my worth to my own wife. Tears streamed down my face. That's not fair. I've been a good wife. I've supported you, taken care of our home, been there for you. You've been there for the version of me that entertains you. Daniel interrupted, his calm cracking slightly. The version that fits into your social media posts and your stories to friends. But you've never actually seen me, Maya. You've never respected who I actually am, a quiet, methodical, private person. You wanted me to be more exciting, more outgoing, more like the husbands your friends have, and when I couldn't be that, you made me into a punchline. Perhaps we should, Jennifer started. He told you about his insecurities and confidence. Daniel continued, his voice rising now, and you broadcast them for entertainment. That's not love, Maya. That's cruelty wrapped in a smile. The word cruelty landed like a physical blow. I sank onto the couch, my legs unable to hold me anymore. I never meant to hurt you, I whispered. Daniel's expression softened slightly, but not with forgiveness, with pity. I know, that's almost worse. You hurt me without even realizing it mattered. The legal separation papers arrived 1 week later. I signed them in a fog, each signature feeling like I was erasing a part of my life. Vanessa came over with wine and takeout, but I couldn't eat. I don't understand how it fell apart so fast. I told her, staring at the legal documents spread across my coffee table. It didn't fall apart fast, Vanessa said gently. It fell apart slowly, and the party was just when Daniel finally stopped pretending he was okay. I looked at her, really looked at her. You knew, didn't you? You knew I was treating him badly, Vanessa sighed. I knew you had a pattern of making Daniel the butt of jokes. I told myself it was just your sense of humor that all couples tease each other, but when I suggested that game at the party, I didn't think you'd go that far, and watching Daniel's face. She trailed off, shaking her head. Maya, I've never seen someone look so broken. I started therapy the next week. Dr. Roberts, a patient woman in her 50s, helped me unpack the uncomfortable truth about myself. You used Daniel to regulate your own insecurities, she explained during one session. When you felt socially awkward or uncertain, you redirected attention by making him the focus of humor. It gave you control and temporarily boosted your social standing in the group. I hated how accurate that felt. So I'm just a terrible person. No, Dr. Roberts corrected. You're a person who developed maladaptive coping mechanisms. The question is, what are you going to do now that you're aware of them? I started journaling, tracking every moment I felt the urge to make a joke at someone else's expense. I reached out to Priya and apologized for the awkward party. She accepted graciously, but maintained a polite distance. Our friendship would never be what it was. I deleted my social media accounts, realizing how much of my identity had been wrapped up in curating a perfect image. But the hardest part was accepting that some damage couldn't be undone. I ran into Leo at the grocery store one afternoon. We stood awkwardly by the produce section. How is he? I asked quietly. Leo studied me for a moment, then his expression softened. He's been going to the gym, reconnecting with old hobbies, actually smiling again. I think leaving was the healthiest choice he's made in years. Those words should have devastated me, but instead, they brought an unexpected sense of clarity. Maybe loving someone meant wanting them to be happy, even if their happiness didn't include you. I wrote Daniel a letter, not asking for reconciliation, not making excuses, but taking full accountability. I dropped it in the mailbox outside his new building and walked away, resisting the urge to wait and see if he'd read it. That letter wasn't for me, it was for him. 6 months after the party that destroyed my marriage, I ran into Daniel at a coffee shop downtown. My first instinct was to hide, but I forced myself to approach him. Hi, I said simply, holding my latte like a shield. He looked up from his laptop, surprise flickering across his face. Maya, hi. We stood there for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on us. You look good, I offered. It was true. Daniel had a tan, his hair was slightly longer, and there was an ease in his posture I'd never noticed before. Thanks, so do you, he replied, though I knew I looked tired, thinner, worn down by months of self-reflection and rebuilding. I got your letter, he said quietly. I appreciate you writing it. That took courage. I nodded, my throat tight. I meant every word. I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but it's all I have. I'm glad you're in therapy. Leo mentioned you're doing better. I am doing better, learning a lot about myself, most of it uncomfortable. A small smile tugged at his lips. Growth usually is. We talked for a few more minutes, surface, level updates, carefully avoiding anything too deep. He mentioned he'd been promoted at work. I told him about my new marketing project. We were like friendly strangers, rebuilding from the ruins of intimacy. As I turned to leave, Daniel called my name. Maya, for what it's worth, I don't hate you. I'm not even angry anymore, I just needed to choose myself. Tears pricked my eyes, but I smiled through them. I'm glad you did. You deserved better than what I gave you. We both deserved better, he said kindly. I should have communicated my hurt earlier instead of letting it build. But what's done is done. Take care of yourself, Daniel. You too, Maya. As I walked out of the coffee shop, I felt something shift inside me. Not healing, that would take years, but acceptance. I had broken something beautiful through carelessness and cruelty disguised as humor. I couldn't fix it, couldn't rewind time, couldn't undo the damage, but I could learn from it. 1 year after the anniversary party, I attended Priya's birthday celebration at a wine bar. I almost declined the invitation, but Dr. Roberts encouraged me to go. Avoiding social situations forever isn't growth, she'd said. It's hiding. So I went, armed with mineral water and a commitment to listen more than I spoke. Vanessa hugged me when I arrived, a genuine embrace that felt like forgiveness. Leo was there too. We developed an unexpected friendship. He'd become an accountability partner, someone who wouldn't let me slip back into old patterns. Halfway through the evening, someone mentioned Daniel. He's seeing someone. Priya said casually. A woman from his hiking group. She seems really nice, quiet, thoughtful. They went to Vermont last weekend. My chest tightened. I excused myself to the bathroom, needing a moment to breathe. Standing in front of the mirror, I studied my reflection. I looked different than I had a year ago. There was a sadness in my eyes that hadn't existed before, but also a depth, a self-awareness that came from being broken and choosing to rebuild carefully. I wasn't the woman who'd thrown that anniversary party anymore. That woman had been so desperate for external validation that she'd sacrificed her husband's dignity for it. This woman understood that true confidence didn't require diminishing others. When I returned, Leo caught my eye and gave me a subtle nod of understanding. Later, as we stepped outside for air, he spoke. "You okay?" I considered the question carefully. "Yeah, I am. It hurts knowing he's moved on, but I'm genuinely glad he's happy. That's growth, right?" Leo smiled. A real smile. That's growth. I'm proud of you, Maya. Not everyone does the work you've done. His words meant more than he probably realized. For so long, I defined my worth through Daniel's love, through my friends' admiration, through social media likes and party invitations. But slowly, painstakingly, I was learning to define my worth through my own integrity, my own growth, my own commitment to being better. It wasn't glamorous, but it was real. And for the first time in my life, real felt like enough. I'm writing this from my new studio apartment, smaller than the place Daniel and I shared, but entirely mine. The walls are bare except for a single framed quote Dr. Roberts gave me. The quality of our relationships is determined by the quality of our character. I read it every morning. I still think about that anniversary party, not with the crushing shame that paralyzed me for months, but with a clear-eyed understanding of what went wrong. I had treated my marriage like a performance, Daniel like a supporting character in my story, and our intimacy like public property. I had valued being perceived as fun more than actually being kind. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Daniel sent me a text afterward, just 3 words, "Be well, Maya." I cried reading it, not from heartbreak, but from gratitude. After everything I'd put him through, he still had the generosity to wish me well. I didn't deserve his kindness, but I was determined to honor it by becoming someone who might deserve it someday. I've learned that apologizing isn't about being forgiven. It's about acknowledging the harm you caused and committing to never cause it again. I've learned that love isn't about possession or performance. It's about respect, about seeing someone fully and choosing them anyway. I've learned that the person you hurt most with cruelty isn't always the target. It's yourself. Because you have to live with what you've done, with who you were, with the knowledge that you caused pain to someone who trusted you. But I've also learned that growth is possible, that change is real, that becoming better is a choice you make every single day. Daniel moved on. He found someone who sees him, respects him, loves him the way he deserved all along. And me, I'm still learning, still growing, still working to become the person I should have been. The woman in the mirror looks back at me with clear eyes now. She knows what she did. She knows what she lost, and she knows that the only way forward is to be better, not for Daniel, not for anyone else, but for herself. Because that's what real growth looks like. Not a dramatic transformation, not a sudden redemption, but slow, steady, painful work toward becoming someone you can respect. I'll never throw another anniversary party. But someday, maybe I'll deserve to celebrate love again, real love, the kind built on respect and kindness and seeing someone fully. Until then, I'll keep working, keep growing, keep learning, because that's all I can do. That's all any of us can do.